Good morning, students. Welcome back to our zoology class. So we are going through the chapter evolution and we are discussing the topic theories of biological evolution. And let us go on our today's class. In the previous session also we have discussed the same topic, that is theories of biological evolution. So in that we discussed about the theory of Lamarck, right? And of course we discussed about this objection to Lamarckism as well as neo-Lamarckism also. Fine. So today we are supposed to discuss one more theory which is given by Darwin. So Darwin's theory of natural selection and objection to Darwinism as well as neo-Darwinism also. So Darwin's theory is given by the person Charles Darwin, and he has published this one of this famous book, that is The Origin of Species by Natural Selection, right? And he went through this throughout this world around 5 years, and he has collected a lot of details regarding these plants and animals, and he has conducted this experiments. Then he has found these similarities as well as this differences among these plants and organisms, and finally he came to one conclusion. So his basic concept is fittest organisms can survive than unfit. So he has categorized the organisms as fittest as well as unfit. So as per his concept, he said fittest organisms can survive well in the changing environment than these unfit organisms. Okay, now let us go on his theory. So Darwin has given this theory based on several facts, observations and influences, right? Now let us see what are the facts is given by this Darwin for his theory. So the first one is overproduction or prodigality of production. The second step is struggle for existence. The third one is universal occurrence of variation. And the fourth one is origin of species by natural selection. Right? Now let us see one by one what are the point or concept he tried to see under each title. Fine. So the first fact is overproduction or prodigality of production. Right? All living organisms increase their population in large numbers. Every organisms, even from one microorganism to the blue whale, every organism has the capability to reproduce. So, and moreover, it has the enthusiasm to increase its population, right? So that's why every organism is trying to increase its generation. So two examples are given here. The one is salmon fish. It could able to produce 28 millions of eggs during breeding season. So the picture we displayed there is salmon fish, and during breeding season it could produce 28 millions of eggs. But if this 28 millions of eggs hatch out, of course they said the full sea would be filled with this salmon in new generations. But every egg may not hatch out, right? And one more example is given regarding the elephant. It is one of the slowest breeder that can produce 6 young ones in its lifetime. Then it can produce 6 million descendants at the end of 750 years in the absence of any check, right? So elephant is considered as one of the slowest breeder, even though it could produce 6 millions of this descendants at the end of this 750 years, right? So overall we can understand every organism is reproducing and it is increasing its number, its progeny. That's what there is overproduction, or the population is increased, we could say, right? So that is the first step in this Darwin's theory. So that is this overproduction. And let us see, because of this overproduction, because of this explosion, what effect will be there, right? Struggle for existence. Of course, if there is a population, if there is an explosion of population, surely it may leading to this, shortage of food, shelter, water. So the basic needs may shortage or may lack, right? So that's what every organism may feel struggle for existence. Okay, so there will be the competition. It may arise this competition between these organisms, right, to survive in this environment. So this struggle they have classified as three. There is one is intraspecific struggle, the second one is interspecific struggle, the third one is struggle with the environment. So when the population is increasing, the organisms may face these kind of the struggles. So the first one is intraspecific struggle. So here the struggle is going on within the species. So if this struggle is within the species, surely the competition will be more, because everyone may need the same needs. For example, there will be the competition or struggle will be there for food or for space or even for mating. So such struggles will be there among these organisms, right? And the second one is interspecific struggle. So interspecific struggle goes on between the species, right? And here also they said interspecific struggle with the different species for food and for spaces, right? And the third one is regarding struggle with the environment. Of course, with this environment also there will be the struggle, and that is related to, we could say, as the climatic variation, climatic changes, flood, earthquake, drought. So these are all this effect may happens in the environment. So the organisms are supposed to cope up with this changing environment also, right? So when the population is increasing, surely the organisms has to face all these kind of these struggles. So that's what he mentioned. If there is this overpopulation, surely it may lead to struggle for existence, right? This is the third fact he said regarding this universal occurrence of variation. So if there is a struggle, so if there is a competition, surely it is leading to this occurrence of variation, right? So what do you mean this variation? So for example, if there is a competition among the same kind of these organisms or species, surely they have to modify themselves to survive in the changing environment. Unless there is this variation or unless there is a modification, it could not survive in the changing environment. And already there is this demand of food and basic things also. So it must to change, or it must to bring some variations or changes in the body wise or behavior wise. So some changes it has to bring. So if there is a changes, surely it could able to adapt themselves for the changing environment, right? So that's what he has mentioned, universal occurrence of variation, right? So the one of the picture I displayed there is regarding these birds. Of course it is it is a finches. It's a bird's name is a finches. So when this population is low, these finches could get this food normally, right? And when the population is increased, there is a shortage of food, and this group of these finches was trying to get the food in various modes. So with its normal beak, it could not collect the food in a normal way. That's what it is trying to change. Its size of this beak, shape of this beak is started to change. So anyhow, these modifications it's arise because of this changing environment. So if it want to survive, of course it has to modify itself, right? So that's what does the big size is change than the normal, right? And the point he's trying to say at last is useful variations are passed into the next generations. So variations will be produced by various organisms. The organisms may try to bring this variation to survive in the changing environment, but every variations are not suitable to survive in the changing environment. So the suitable variation alone or the useful variation alone may pass to the next generation. So that is the concept of Darwin, and he said that this universal occurrence of variations may happen among these organisms. So the last point is origin of species by natural selection. So according to Darwin's concept, nature is the most powerful selective force. Nature is selecting the organisms, he said, right? So one of this example we could give from this giraffe. So this we have explained already in the Lamarck's theory, right? So Darwin also relating the same concept here. So as per Darwin's concept, when the environment is changed, of course this organism also modify themselves, or it has produced some variations in its body, right? So the suitable variation we can say the organisms has produced the lengthiest neck. So the lengthiest neck is suitable. So the organisms those who produce this lengthiest neck are selected by the nature. So the organisms which had the short neck is eliminated from the environment. So this selection force is given by the nature. So the nature is selecting this suitable organisms or fittest organisms. So in case of this giraffe, which is the fittest one? This lengthiest giraffe is the fittest one. So those organisms are selected by the nature. So the unfit one is eliminated because it is unable to survive in the environment with this nature. So this force is given by the nature. That is the concept of Darwin. So the final point he said is struggle for existence resulted in the survival of the fittest. This struggle finally it is leading to the fit and unfit, and the fitted organisms are surviving or it is selected by the nature to survive in the environment, right? Objections to Darwinism. Of course, there is a lot of objections are evolved regarding this Darwin's theory. In that, the first one is Darwin failed to explain mechanism of variation. So Darwin said about this variation. Of course, when there is overproduction is leading to struggle for existence. If there is a struggle and the organisms is modifying its body or universal occurrences variations may happen, but he do not explain what are these variations happen in the organisms, at which period, what changes, what variations happen. So all those things he has not explained. Fine. And the second objection is he do not explain arrival of the fittest. So he has explained actually Darwin's concept is the survival of the fittest. So which is very fittest, the fittest organisms only can survive in this environment. That is the concept of this Darwin. But he do not explain arrival of the fittest. How long, how much it can arrive, how it is arrived. So that point is not mentioned by this Darwin, right? And the third objection is focused small fluctuating variation. So he is focused only the small variation, fluctuating variations. It may fluctuating in the sense up and down will be there, right? But these variations mainly it will not transfer to this next generation. It is not mostly non-heritable. It is non-heritable. So if these variations are heritable only, it can transfer to the next generation. If it is not heritable, even if there is a changes also, it will not take over to the next generations. So Darwin has focused only the small fluctuating variation, and mostly it is not heritable. And the next objection is, he did not distinguish somatic as well as germinal variation. So already in the August Weismann has given the theory, germplasm theory, and as per August Weismann concept, he said variations are if there is any variation in the somatic cells will not be transferred to the next generation, but if there is any changes or variation in the germ cells, it will transfer to the next generation. So that is a concept already given by this August Weismann, but here Darwin do not explain regarding the somatic as well as germinal variation, right? And this last one is, he could not explain vestigial organs and over specialization of organs in extinct animals. So he has not explained regarding these vestigial organs. So vestigial organ, in the sense we can say this organs which we have is present for our ancestors. With these organs we have no specific function, since our ancestor had this organ, and the reduced form is present for the current generation also. For example, appendix which is connected along with this large intestine, there is no specific function with this appendix, and it was present in our this ancestral animals. That's what is continued for this current generation also. So those we can say as vestigial organs. So he has not explained regarding this vestigial organ, and so this basic concept of Darwinism is survival of the fittest. So he said only the fittest organisms, specialized characterized organisms only can survive in this environment is the concept of Darwin. But some organs are over specialized for some kind of these animals, but these are extinct. Over specialization of organs in extinct animals. For example, they say the tusk in extinct mammoth. Mammoth had a tusk, it was over specialized tusk. Then oversized antlers in this extinct Irish deer. So the Irish deer consisted of over specialized antlers, right? So even it had this over specialized character, these kind of these organisms are extinct. So as per his Darwin's concept, we could not say over specialized or over unfit organisms. The fittest organisms only can survive in the environment. We could not say because of even this over specialization also these organisms are extinct, right? So these are all the objections are given by this and other scientists or evolutionists regarding this Darwin's theory, right? So the next one is neo-Darwinism. So as like Lamarckism, here also some people have supported this Darwin theory, so that we can say as neo-Darwinism, right? And let us go on the people who have supported this Darwin's theory. They are Wallach, Heinrich, Haeckel, Weismann, Mental. So these persons has supported this Darwinism, and so their concept is changes in the frequency of genes in population arises due to mutation, variation, isolation as well as natural selection, right? So changes only will bring this variation. Variations brings this evolution. Unless there is change, there is no variation, there is no evolution, right? So these changes in this gene frequency may happen only because of mutation or variation, isolation and natural selection. So these facts are bringing this changes in the gene frequency in a population. So if there is a changes, surely it is going to bring this evolution, right? So these people has interlinked this modern concept along with this Darwin's concept, and they have given this modern synthetic theory of natural selection, right? So those modern synthetic theory, for example, mutation, how mutation will bring this evolutionary changes, or variation will bring this evolutionary changes, or how oscillation will bring this frequency changes or evolutionary changes and natural selection. So those things we are going to discuss in the next class. Fine. So that's all about this Darwin's theory, and let us go on some assignments regarding today's portion. So there is a question, give the types of struggle for existence. So there is 3 types of struggles we discussed, intraspecific, interspecific, as well as the struggles with environment. Okay. The next one, list out these objections to Darwinism. The Darwinism's objection, you got to write it down. Okay, and give the concept of neo-Darwinism. So Darwinism's persons, they said, and this theory emphasized the changes in the frequency of genes in population arises due to this mutation, variation, isolation and natural selection, right? So please go on these areas and until we can meet in this next class, right? So hope you will do it well and stay at home and pray very well. Fine. Thank you.